What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry here with another edition of the Alabama Football Report. And it is award season. Alabama, a couple of their players were awarded with some all-SEC honors. We'll also be talking about possibly freezing out Notre Dame. Alabama has a home-and-home scheduled with them in a couple seasons. Will it remain on the schedule? We'll go over that here in just a little bit. But look, this season has been full of a lot of ups. It's been full of a lot of downs. If you guys love the Crimson Tide, through the good, the bad, the ugly, make sure you get down there and drop a like on today's video. I know, we get real crazy about Alabama a lot of the time, but if you're an Alabama fan watching this video right now that really does love the Crimson Tide, no matter what, make sure you drop a like on today's show. All right, like I said, it is award season finally. While there's not a lot of Alabama players up for these major big-time awards, a few Alabama players did receive all SEC honors on both offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. We'll start off here first with the SEC all-freshman team. You got tight end Kaleb Edwards, offensive tackle Michael Carroll, London Simmons along the defensive line, and Dijon Lee, true freshman, 5-star cornerback here for Alabama. We'll talk about a couple of these guys here. Kaleb Edwards played some massive snaps for Alabama this season as a true freshman, with Danny Lewis Jr. being out for the majority of the season. I think he's only played 5 games, and in 2 of those games, he only played 3 snaps apiece in those. Kaleb Edwards did a really good job filling in for him. He wasn't necessarily in that pass-catching role, so, obviously the catches and the yards aren't going to be as high as somebody like a Josh Cuevas or somebody like that. But, look, Kaleb Edwards did a solid job for Alabama filling in at that tight end spot for Danny Lewis Jr. You also have London Simmons as well, who, honestly, man, he's been one of my favorite stories for this Alabama defense this year. Coming in as a true freshman, he was a 3-star guy. Had to work a lot to just be able to get that offer for Alabama. And then at the beginning of the year, Tim Keenan had to have that tightrope surgery on his ankle. London Simmons had to step up and fill a lot of snaps there for that Alabama defensive line. The stats don't always necessarily, pop off the screen for those, interior defensive linemen. But, man, shout out London Simmons. I really am happy for this kid and everything that he's been able to accomplish here really over the past 2 years, his senior year of high school and this in his freshman season, at Alabama. And then you had the 5-star, the guy that, really received a lot of buzz in the preseason, Dijon Lee. Really, man, coming into the season, I thought Dijon Lee was going to play, some snaps for this Alabama defense, but I did think a guy like Cam Calhoun was going to play a lot, and I did also think Damani Jackson was going to end up being that, starting corner alongside Zabian Brown as well. Man, it took like 2 or 3 games before Dijon Lee ended up being that guy alongside Zabian Brown there. He had the 4th highest coverage grade per Pro Football Focus on this Alabama defense. Also had 31 tackles and 4.5 tackles for loss. By the way, I think it was that Missouri game, had the game-clinching interception as well. Dijon Lee, man, I am super excited about this kid. Definitely going to be a future first-round draft pick in the NFL. So who do you think was the most impactful freshman for Alabama this season? There's a couple of guys that, didn't receive these honors, but let me know what you guys think. Personally, I probably think it's Dijon Lee, but let me know down at the pinned comment of today's show. All right, you also had a couple guys with some AP All-SEC team awards here. Kadyn Proctor, left tackle, was a first-team All-SEC player, and the same for Bray Hubbard at that safety spot as well. Kadyn Proctor, man, what can I say about him? He also won the Jacobs Blocking Award, by the way, here in the SEC. There's been a lot of murmurs about where he's going to end up going in the NFL draft. Still going to be a first-round guy. At the beginning of the year, still kind of struggled to get it going, had a little bit of a slow start, but man, only gave up 1 sack this season. That run block grade has been really good. That pass block grade has really been really good. All this talk about, Alabama wanting some smaller offensive linemen. Kadyn Proctor's done an incredible job for the Crimson Tide this year, and Bray Hubbard has on the defensive side as well, alongside Keon Sabb. Man, this kid's really just been a true leader for this Alabama defense. And you even listen to his press conferences and the postgame, whether it's a win, whether it's a loss. I love everything that comes out of this guy's mouth. Led the team with 4 interceptions as well this season on that defense. And by the way, also according to Pro Football Focus, had the highest coverage grade 86.4 on this Alabama defense. I love Bray Hubbard, and I'm really excited for his future. I don't know if he ends up going to the draft this year, or is he going to be excited to come back for yet another season in this Kane Womack defense. We'll continue talking about that Notre Dame schedule here in just a second. But first, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's that holiday season, best time of the year for sports. You have bowl games, you have basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every single day, what gifts to buy around the holiday season, what to eat, which bowl games to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is on Prize Picks. This is what we got cooked up for the professional football slate of games this weekend. A little 3-pick power play for you. Going with Drake May, more than passing yards. Shadur Sanders, more than passing yards for him. And then Jamar Chase going up against Baltimore. We're going to go with the less than 84.5 receiving yards. The good thing about Prize Picks, one of my favorite things about Prize Picks, because I think about that Jamar Chase one, and I don't really know how I feel about that. But with Prize Picks, how he plays up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play where you get paid even if one of your picks misses. So if that Drake May and that Shadur Sanders one hits, but the Jamar Chase one doesn't necessarily hit, if you go with the flex play, you can still come out on top. But if you want the biggest payouts, go with the power play. No matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That link, by the way, down in the comments section and the description of today's show. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now, Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavakwe, I believe is how you pronounce his name there, has been going on a media tirade over the past couple of days because Notre Dame got left out of the college football playoffs. And I'll be completely honest, I do feel a little bit bad for Notre Dame. You know, we were kind of in that same situation last year with Clemson being ranked at number 16, but they won the ACC championship, knocks Alabama out of the college football playoff. I think it's a joke, frankly, that we are letting teams ranked outside the top 12 into the college football playoffs. You have JMU and Tulane at ranked number 20 and 24 that jump up into the college football playoffs because they won their Group of 5 conference championship. I think that's kind of a joke, but it's not the ACC's fault. It's not Alabama's fault. It's not even ESPN's fault or the fault of the College Football Playoff Committee, Miami, whoever they want to blame for this. It is not their fault. And, you know, he's now saying that the ACC has done, quote-unquote, permanent damage to their relationship because they were out here advocating for Miami, one of the teams that are in the ACC, to get into the college football playoffs. I'm not really going to go down that rabbit hole today, but I do want to talk about how this could impact the future of Alabama's schedule. Ross Dillinger of Yahoo Sports reported this the other day about Notre Dame, saying in a interesting wrinkle, as part of a memorandum of understanding signed by the college football playoff officials last spring, Notre Dame will be assured of making the playoffs if it is ranked in the top 12 starting next year, Bavakwe tells Yahoo Sports. For instance, if this year's circumstance unfolds next year, the final at-large team, which this year it was Miami, would have gotten automatically bumped from the field for number 11 Notre Dame. He continues on saying if the playoff is expanded to 14 teams, which it will probably be, if not 16 teams, and there are more at-large berths added to the field from 7 to 9, Notre Dame is guaranteed into the field if it is ranked 13 or better according to the memorandum of understanding. Yahoo Sports also tweeted this out earlier yesterday, saying After learning of Notre Dame's memorandum of understanding that grants the Irish preferential playoff access starting next year, athletic directors in other leagues are threatening to freeze Notre Dame out of their future schedules. Now, I don't necessarily know if that is actually the right way to go, but, it is kind of funny that this is happening to Notre Dame. I think that, they should make the college football playoffs only available to teams either in Power 4 conferences or if they are ranked inside the top 12. If you are not in a Power 4 conference, you shouldn't be allowed in the college football playoffs, in my opinion. Now, I think that would probably cause a legal situation for both independent schools and Group of 5 schools, but in my opinion, I think you should let the Group of 5 have their own national championship playoff. I think people would watch that as well, but I do think it's BS that they are trying to pressure the the SEC into playing a 9-game conference schedule when Notre Dame can just throw together whatever boo-boo ass schedule that, they can out, not all Power 4 teams are created equal. They can go out there and they can say, oh, Alabama or whoever in the SEC doesn't play 9 Power 4 schools or whatever it ends up being. I think Notre Dame played 10 Power 4 schools this year. Alabama, I think, ended up playing 9. If I'm not mistaken, my math might be, failing me on that. Either way, they're out here trying to convince that the Navy game is a good opponent. Get out of here with that mess. Now, how this affects Alabama is Alabama does have a future non-conference schedule home-and-home series against Notre Dame. In 2029, Alabama goes to Notre Dame. In 2030, Notre Dame comes to Alabama, which I do think that would be an incredible matchup to, both go to Notre Dame and have them come to Tuscaloosa as well. I do think that would be a fun matchup, and I don't necessarily want to see that off the schedule. I think it's both good for both schools, and honestly, it puts a good win on Notre Dame's schedule if they could end up beating Alabama, whether it's at Notre Dame or in Tuscaloosa. So I want to hear from you guys down inside the comment section. Should Alabama cancel their future games versus Notre Dame? Type C if you think they should cancel, or type K if you think they should keep them on the schedule. Now, like I said a second ago, I think Power 4 teams should end up scheduling Notre Dame. What I don't want to see is Notre Dame's path to the playoffs just get easier than it already is. And I do think it's BS that, you can be in a conference and just about every damn sport you have, except for the one, maybe basketball as well, but football is really what drives revenue for most schools around the country here. Pretty much every sport that Notre Dame has, they're in a conference. Let's just talk about the ACC for a second. By the way, I think their hockey team is in the Big Ten, but they have men's and women's basketball. They play baseball. They play softball. They play men's and women's soccer. Fencing, by the way, as well. Men's and women's tennis. They play men's and women's lacrosse. They play women's basketball. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 sports in the ACC, and the only one that drives revenue for them, football, is not in a conference. I think that's an absolute joke. And if there's anything that we learned this year about the college football playoff and in the committee, you get docked. If you're not in a conference and you don't play in a conference championship game, you can get moved around in that final schedule or in that final week of the schedule. So, look, we're probably going to have expansion in the college football playoffs just to cater to Notre Dame, and honestly, it's to make more money as well, but, we could argue about that and whether it's good for the sport and yada, 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 all that front, but either way, I think it's a joke that Notre Dame's not in a schedule, but I do not want to see them being taken off Alabama's schedule in the future.